December 5th, 1945. It's a clear, bright afternoon over the Florida coast. 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers lift off from the Naval Air Station in Fort Lauderdale. This is Flight 19, a routine training patrol. The 14 men aboard are pilots and trainees, led by an experienced instructor, Lieutenant Charles Taylor. Their flight plan is simple: fly east, conduct bombing runs, fly north, then turn southwest back to base. They are never seen again. Their last radio transmissions are not of a mechanical failure. They are of pure, unadulterated confusion. The lead pilot, Taylor, is heard saying, "Both my compasses are out, and I'm trying to find Fort Lauderdale. I am sure I'm in the Keys, but I don't know how far down." The control tower is baffled. The Keys are hundreds of miles in the wrong direction. The tower tries to guide them, but the transmissions grow fainter. "We can't see land. Everything is wrong. Strange. The ocean doesn't look as it should." Then, silence. As dusk falls, a PBM Mariner search and rescue plane carrying a crew of 13 is sent to find them. 20 minutes into its search, it too vanishes from radar. By the next morning, 6 aircraft and 27 men have disappeared, seemingly erased from the sky. No wreckage, no oil slicks, no bodies. Nothing. This single event would give birth to the most enduring maritime mystery of the 20th century. It would draw a phantom boundary on the world map, a patch of ocean stretching from Florida to Bermuda to Puerto Rico. We call it the Bermuda Triangle. For decades, it's been a vortex of the unexplained, a graveyard for ships and planes, blamed on everything from aliens to lost Atlantean technology. But is this a true paranormal enigma? Or is it the greatest campfire story the world has ever told?
Flight 19 wasn't the first, and it certainly wasn't the last. The legend of the Devil's Triangle is built on a foundation of seemingly impossible disappearances. Long before Flight 19, in March 1918, the United States Navy suffered its largest single loss of life outside of combat. The USS Cyclops, a massive 542-foot-long collier ship, was sailing from Brazil to Baltimore, loaded with over 10,000 tons of heavy manganese ore. It carried 309 crew and passengers. The Cyclops made a brief, unscheduled stop in Barbados and then sailed north. It never arrived. It simply vanished. There was no SOS signal, no distress calls, no wreckage was ever found, despite one of the largest sea searches of its time. It was as if a 20,000-ton steel behemoth was simply plucked from the ocean. President Woodrow Wilson himself, when told of the disappearance, could only say, "Only God and the sea know what happened to the great ship." The list grew. In 1963, the SS Marine Sulphur Queen, a tanker carrying molten sulfur, disappeared with its crew of 39. Again, no SOS. Only a few life preservers and a single foghorn were ever found, floating in the empty ocean. The official Coast Guard report was chilling in its ambiguity, concluding it vanished and took with her all of her secrets. But perhaps the most bizarre story is the one that comes from a survivor. On December 4th, 1970, pilot Bruce Gernon was flying his small plane from Andros Island to Miami. He describes flying into a strange, tunnel-shaped cloud. Inside, the air was not turbulent, but filled with a bizarre, thick white haze that he called electronic fog. His navigation instruments went haywire. His compass spun uselessly. He saw lines of intense light streaking past his cockpit, as if he were in a vortex. He accelerated, desperate to escape, and shot out of the cloud into clear blue sky over Miami Beach. The entire flight, which should have taken 75 minutes, had taken only 47. He claimed he had somehow traveled 100 miles in an impossible time frame, as if he'd been pushed through a hole in time and space. Gernon's story, a first-hand account of surviving the Triangle's strangest phenomena, added a terrifying new dimension to the myth. These weren't just disappearances. This was a force that could bend the laws of physics. It's no wonder that in the 60s and 70s, the public imagination ran wild. This had to be the work of aliens abducting specimens. It had to be a residual energy crystal from the lost city of Atlantis lying on the ocean floor and periodically activating to doom unfortunate travelers. The myths became far more compelling than the reality.
As the supernatural theories became more fantastic, science tried to offer more rational, if equally dramatic explanations. The public wanted an answer, and they got two major contenders that seemed to fit the extraordinary nature of the mystery. The first theory was a magnetic one. The Bermuda Triangle is one of only two places on Earth, the other being the Devil's Sea near Japan, where a compass needle points to true north, the geographic North Pole, instead of magnetic north, the spot in Canada where the Earth's magnetic field lines converge. This line, where true and magnetic north align, is called an agonic line. The theory was simple. This magnetic quirk was enough to throw off navigators. A pilot or captain, not accounting for this subtle shift, could be thrown off course by several degrees. Over hundreds of miles, a few degrees is the difference between making landfall in Florida and flying into the empty, vast expanse of the Atlantic. It seemed like a perfect explanation for pilots like Charles Taylor, who complained his compasses were wrong. It wasn't paranormal. It was a geophysical quirk, a natural booby trap. But the most popular and visually stunning theory lay on the ocean floor: methane hydrates. Deep beneath the seabed, in this region, massive deposits of methane gas are trapped in an icy, crystal-like structure. These hydrates are stable, but if destabilized, perhaps by a small underwater tremor or a shift in temperature, they could rupture. Scientists proposed a terrifying scenario: a massive, catastrophic eruption of methane gas rising from the depths. This plume of gas would rocket to the surface. Any ship caught above this eruption would, for a few horrifying moments, be floating not on dense water, but on a frothy, bubbly mixture of gas and water with almost no buoyancy. The ship wouldn't just sink, it would fall instantly, like a rock dropped in a glass of champagne. It would be pulled under so fast that there would be no time for an SOS. It would explain the lack of wreckage, as the ship would plummet straight to the bottom. It was a compelling, cinematic, and scientifically plausible explanation for how a vessel like the USS Cyclops could vanish without a word.
Magnetic anomalies, explosive gas bubbles, electronic fog. These are dramatic theories, and they almost feel worthy of the legend. But the truth is far less exciting and far more human. First, let's address the triangle itself. If you ask Lloyd's of London, the world's leading maritime insurer, about the Bermuda Triangle, they will tell you it does not exist. There is no special designation. Insurance premiums for ships transiting this area are no higher than for any other busy stretch of ocean. The U.S. Coast Guard, in an official statement, concurs. In a review of losses within the triangle over the years, the Coast Guard has not found any extraordinary factors. The very concept of the triangle as a defined danger zone is a 20th century invention, popularized by sensationalist writers like Charles Berlitz. Second, look at a map of shipping lanes. The Bermuda Triangle is not a desolate, empty patch of ocean. It is one of the heavily trafficked maritime corridors in the world. Thousands of commercial ships, cruise liners, and private boats cross it every single day. Statistically, where there is more traffic, there will be more accidents. The number of disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle is high, but the percentage of losses is no different than any other heavily used part of the ocean. We just don't have a spooky name for the English Channel or the South China Sea. Third, the triangle has two of the most powerful and dangerous natural features on the planet. The first is the Gulf Stream, a deep, fast-moving river of warm water within the ocean. It is treacherous, with currents that can exceed 5 miles per hour. It can create its own violent, localized weather systems with breathtaking speed. And, most importantly, it acts as a massive conveyor belt. Any wreckage from a crash or sinking would not simply float in place. It would be captured by the current, pulled hundreds of miles away, and eventually sunk into some of the deepest oceanic trenches on Earth. The mystery of the missing wreckage is no mystery at all to anyone who understands the Gulf Stream. But the real killer, the true devil in the triangle, isn't gas or magnetism. It's the same thing that causes 90% of accidents on land: human error. Let's revisit Flight 19. The clear, bright day is a myth. While it was clear at takeoff, weather reports from the time show that a violent, unexpected storm was blowing in. The flight leader, Charles Taylor, was not a seasoned veteran of this area. He had only recently transferred from Miami and was known to be unfamiliar with the local geography. His last transmission, claiming to be in the Florida Keys, proves this. To be in the Keys, he would have had to fly south from Fort Lauderdale, not east. He was hopelessly lost, and records show his plane's compass had been reported as faulty before the flight. He wasn't a victim of a vortex. He was a victim of disorientation, bad weather, and faulty equipment. He tragically led his men out to sea until their fuel tanks drained dry. The rescue plane? The PBM Mariner was notoriously known as the flying gas tank by its crews. It was prone to catastrophic explosions from fuel vapor. The crew of a ship in the area reported seeing a ball of fire in the sky, exactly where the Mariner disappeared. It didn't vanish, it exploded. And the USS Cyclops, the massive ship that vanished? It wasn't a mystery to naval engineers at the time. The ship was known to have a faulty engine that needed repair. It was also notoriously top-heavy and prone to rolling in bad weather. And it was overloaded with 10,000 tons of heavy ore. The most likely and most boring explanation is that the ship, already compromised, was caught in one of the sudden, violent storms coming to the area. It capsized and sank quickly under the immense weight of its cargo. No mystery required.
The mystery of the Bermuda Triangle isn't in the ocean, it's in our minds. The legend is a product of cherry-picking data, ignoring the thousands of successful voyages and sensationalist storytelling. We find a handful of tragedies, connect them with a dotted line, and invent a monster to live inside it. Why? Because in our modern, mapped, and digital world, we have a deep-seated human desire for mystery. We want the world to still have dark corners and sea monsters. We want to believe that there are forces beyond our comprehension. It's more exciting to imagine a time-warping fog than to accept the mundane and terrifying reality that a good pilot can make a fatal mistake. It's more romantic to blame Atlantis than to accept that a steel ship can be snapped in two by a powerful wave. The ocean is not a theme park. It is a vast, powerful, and deeply indifferent force of nature. The real tragedy of the Bermuda Triangle isn't the paranormal. The real tragedy is that we've taken the very real, very human stories of loss, of men caught in storms, of pilots lost in the clouds, of sailors betrayed by their own equipment, and turned them into a ghost story. The truth is simple, and it's always the same. The sea is dangerous, and sometimes those who go out just don't come back.